Selling a digital product online is not as hard as you might think. So in this video, I want to give you everything you need to know step by step from absolute beginner, not even with an idea, to how to find the right idea, how to make the product, how to package the product, and ultimately how to sell the product online. And digital products have 6 main benefits over physical products. So we'll talk about those benefits. I'll give you 8 examples to kind of get your brain going on some different styles of digital products you can sell. And then we're going to get into 2 main ways you can sell them online, as well as 3 ways that you can actually market that product. So we have a lot to talk about in this video, but my goal is to make this as easy as possible for you to start your business and become profitable as soon as possible. I want to see a lot of success from you guys. And honestly, like I said, anybody can do this. You don't need a degree in coding. You don't need really any education at all. This is something that anybody with a laptop and an internet connection can do from anywhere in the world, which is pretty exciting. There's actually never been a better time to start a digital product business than now. It's just so many tools available to help you get started, and so many customers online who are looking to make their lives easier by buying one of your products. And to be clear, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. If you want that, go buy a lottery ticket or some crypto meme coin. This is going to be a business that if you put the effort in, if you listen to everything I talk about in this video, and you really dedicate yourself to this, I mean, really, like maybe 10 hours a week, maybe 1 hour a week, maybe 40 hours a week, depending on how much time you have. But if you actually do that, you set goals and you do that for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you can be wildly successful. I've seen people do it in the past, and I want you to be able to do that after watching this video. So starting off on ground level, chapter 1, what are the main benefits of selling a digital product compared to a physical product? And keep in mind, the digital product could be anything that's downloadable. It means you're not shipping anything. So there's benefit number 1. You don't need to have any inventory. The fulfillment is automatic. So if somebody makes an order and you're asleep, they instantly get their song, their PDF, whatever it is that they're actually buying, they get it immediately, which makes it a lot easier for you as a seller. Number 4, and this is a huge one, there are significantly better margins. If you make the product and you sell it to 1 person versus 1,000 people, it has absolutely no extra cost to you for all those extra people. It's only going to be the extra website visits maybe, but a lot of websites aren't even going to charge you for that extra. So that is something that is incredibly beneficial compared to physical products, where every single product has a cost. It has a shipping cost. It has a labor cost. Digital products just don't have that, which brings me to benefit number 5, which is this is way easier to scale. If you imagine you're selling something that is like a little trinket people buy and that goes viral, you're gonna have a hard time keeping up with that demand, and ultimately you're going to miss out on some revenue. And then finally, benefit number 6 is that you can do this from anywhere in the world. Like I said, as long as you have a laptop and an internet connection, you could be hanging out in a hammock in Thailand, you could be in New York City. So again, splitting this video into chapters. Chapter 2, thinking about what kind of product do you actually want to sell? Well, we need to start off on the ground level and think about what we're good at. So I recommend making a list, making a little table where one column is going to be all the niches that you are in. These are your interests, these are your hobbies, these are things that you just spend your time doing. And the other column are things that you're good at. So maybe you're good at math, maybe you're good at coding, maybe you're not good at coding. Not many people are good at coding. Maybe you're really good at drawing, maybe you're good at playing music. It could be anything that you are good at. Even if you don't like it, just things you're good at and things you like doing. And things you like doing, get creative with this. Even if you don't have a lot of hobbies, maybe it's going to be like you like houseplants. Maybe you like a certain kind of content that you watch on YouTube or on TikTok. Maybe you like cooking. Maybe you just like being organized. Like really make the list as in-depth as you can. This is going to help in the next step of this video. And this is a good opportunity here to use ChatGPT to help kind of augment this process. So you can input everything you have and say, all right, this is what I'm interested in. Can you come up with other ideas that I might be interested in? And it kind of just will suggest a bunch of things. Maybe a lot of those you're not interested in. Maybe some of them you're like, oh yeah, you know what? I used to like that, or I'm good at that. And this can be helpful because I think a lot of times the things that we are good at, or at least better than other people at, a lot of times we just kind of discount that in our minds, right? So besides maybe your college degree, everything else you might think like, yeah, but everyone kind of does that. And you really kind of discount that and don't give yourself credit. For example, like organizing your pantry, or you have better handwriting than other people, or maybe you're just actually pretty good at growing tomatoes that are bigger tomatoes and taller plants than all of your friends and neighbors. And these are smaller things that I would really recommend writing down on this list. Now moving on to chapter number 3, actually thinking about what kind of product we want to sell. So the products, I'm going to give you 8 examples here just to kind of get you to start thinking about the kinds of digital products you can sell. These could be any kind of art. So songs, if you're a musician, that's a pretty obvious one, I would say. Art, so this could be if you're selling digital art, maybe it's going to be phone or laptop wallpapers. Maybe you have a painting you're going to digitize to sell like that. Maybe you're just making as a graphic designer on like, Adobe or whatever. This could be ebooks. So if there's anything you really know how to do well and you just want to make like a quick little, 40, 50 page ebook and you want to sell that, maybe it's going to be like a cookbook, for example, you can sell that as a PDF, as an ebook, really quite easily later on in the video with the tools we're showing. But again, that's something that you can just make in your free time, work on this cookbook, add images, and build it out like that. Any kind of ebook, there really are an infinite amount of books. Anything that is a physical book, you can imagine, all right, you can make this as an ebook, full length or really small. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be 300 pages. You can make a 20-page ebook, and that could provide a lot of value to a lot of people. And maybe you're selling it for $5 and it solves a problem for people. So that could definitely be very viable. Number 4, this is a really big one, any kind of software. And if you're good at coding, that's great. If you're not, now is the best time ever for non-coders to be able to make software. You can use a lot of AI tools to kind of build it out for you. So if you have a good idea for a kind of software and just a little program that you find really useful, maybe it's like a little thing you download and it helps you with cybersecurity to track when other things are downloaded on your laptop. Maybe it's something just as simple as like organizing your email, like a little software that can help you do that. That's probably the most difficult out of this whole list, to be honest, but definitely has a lot of potential there. Of course, anything that you are educating on, so a video series on how to do something, anything you're good at, if you want to sell it as a course, that is of course a digital product as well. Oh, and number 6, this is a really big one. This is probably my favorite one here. This would be any kind of template. So if you're using Notion, you can make Notion templates. Like Thomas Frank, he has been doing this, selling his Notion templates, and that has been a huge part of his business for the past, I think, 3 years now. It's a digital product. He's just selling a template, but it's something that if you have a powerful software that a lot of people use and you built out a nice little structure, you're saving them hours and hours of time, and you cost them maybe $10 or something like that. A lot of people are going to be willing to do that. And it doesn't have to be Notion. It could be OneNote, it could be Excel, it could be any kind of template you're making. Maybe you're just making resume templates, maybe you're making business card templates. You can make these in Canva. Anything that you're able to make, spend some time on, and you're like, this is a good layout, this is really useful, and a lot of people might want this, that could be a perfect digital product. Number 7, any kind of theme. So if you're making themes for, say, Shopify or WordPress. And then, of course, number 8, anything that is printable. So this could be just a general layout that people are going to print out. Maybe it's like a journal. Maybe it is a workout plan. Maybe it's a custom workout plan. So not really the most scalable digital product, but more of a service product combo. So somebody tells you what they need and you come up, or maybe you just have like 8 different options and you suggest the right one to them. So they have, a workout sheet that they can print out. They go to the gym, they do whatever. Maybe it's like a grocery checklist, like anything that's printable like that. It's going to be generally a little bit cheaper to sell that kind of stuff. But if you have a large TAM, so total addressable market, essentially how many people are interested in buying that, then that's something that could easily that could be very lucrative very quickly. So now we have 3 different lists. You have what you're good at, you have what you like, and you have those product styles that I just gave you, those 8 different product styles. And when you're ideating a product, first, I want to do this just organically, no laptop or anything. Just look at the list and think, all right, what could I do with this? And I recommend kind of drawing a line through all of them, just make a different permutation. So maybe you are good at beekeeping, maybe you like honeybees, and you say, all right, let's look through the different styles of products. Can you make an ebook on that? Yeah, you could totally make an ebook on that. Can you make a software on that? Well, maybe when people inspect their hives, it'd be kind of nice to have like a little audio recording app that just transcribes it, and then they can have all their notes on their phone because their hands are busy. Like they don't want to be taking out a pen and writing with a giant leather glove. So that's a possibility if you have the capacity for that. Maybe something simpler though. Maybe can you make a printable, maybe a checklist for when you're out there looking at your beehive? Yeah, you could totally do that because let's be honest, there's a lot going on when you're looking in a beehive. Maybe you want to have a checklist that's like, did you remember to look for swarm cells? Did you remember to look for mites? And all these different things that, having a printable could be really good there. And then go down the list. What else are you good at? Are you good at guitar? Well, can you make a video series on how to play guitar? And the idea here is that you don't want to make things that are way too easy. So AI art wallpapers could be good, but because they're so easy to make so many of them, it's going to be a very, very competitive space. You want to use your skills and your expertise as kind of a moat. Like other people don't have the same experience as you. You are good at something that other people want to be good at, and that's a great thing to make a product around. So for this next phase, let's see what products are actually out there, what needs are out there, and kind of see if our ideas make sense. Let's start off on Etsy. That's a really good resource here. If you just type in, let's say for this video, I'm going to go with the example of finding a product about beekeeping. So let's just say beekeeping. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, Mike, this is physical products. Let me show you in a second. If we go to all filters, we can go down to digital downloads right here, and we can show the results here. So for beekeeping, like I kind of suspected, there's going to be some record keeping stuff. So they've got a whole bunch of record keeping things you can download right there. We have some for honeybee study. So kind of basically an ebook, it kind of looks like. We have plans. That's a really smart one, actually. If you're good at building stuff, plans to build something is a perfect digital thing to sell online. Also, like if you're thinking about selling something physical, maybe you just sell like the design to make it, and then you don't have to pay for shipping, and other people can just build it themselves. So this, I think, is really cool, a really smart idea there. We've got a custom, that kind of looks AI generated, honestly, but a custom like beekeeper photo. So if you wanted to be more hands-on, that's an option. All right, so that's mostly what I'm seeing. There are some little art things, clip art. I wouldn't bother with those. Those look AI generated, which means they're going to be, flooded. A lot of people are going to get those or make those. I think, okay, so plans and the little beekeeping journal tracker, those are two things that they seem to be doing pretty well. You can see a lot of people buying these things. But because there are so many people already doing it, we're going to have to be a little bit different. So let's kind of peel this back a little bit deeper and do some research. There's two other platforms I want to use. One is going to be Reddit. So if we just look up Reddit, beekeeping digital download, see what's kind of popping up here. The first one, I already clicked on this. I thought that was a really good idea. Like I mentioned early in this video, I didn't actually know if anybody used software or not, but in then looking this up, that's the first result. So if we click on that, what software do people use to keep tabs on their hives? It looks like there aren't really any good answers. Like some people use the spreadsheet, and then the real benefit of this is you can see the discussion about this. So if you're like, all right, I'm definitely building software for beekeepers, you could say, well, maybe people don't want to have a laptop out there with them, so you can't really do that. Maybe you could see it's a little extreme notes, stuff like that. So maybe now with the really AI getting to the level that it is, it might be a good time to launch an app or some kind of software that you could just have your phone in your pocket, and then as you're doing your beekeeping, just talk to that. It'll transcribe it, and maybe it'll organize it to some nice notes that can be saved in that app. And that might be a really good tool that I personally would use. I'm fairly new to beekeeping, but I could see that being a fairly useful thing. Google Sheets seems to be another thing people are really using. So maybe what we want to do as a fourth option here is instead of making these trackers out of paper, maybe we just make a template in Google Sheets, for example, or Microsoft Excel. You can kind of make one template for both and just have it a good, easy way for people to track, make it look nice, and give them a lot of options on that. It could also be printable, of course, but having that digital file might be a good idea. Now, well, actually, let's go back. There are a couple of things I want to look at here. Good online books. You can see what people are doing, how competitive that space is. We can see there's a lot of free beekeeping books. There are apps for beekeeping. So I recommend reading through everything that's out there, see what people like, see what they don't like. And the idea here is you want to have really what's called the blue ocean strategy. You want to have a moat around you. So you're trying to make a product that other people really, really want. They really need it, but it isn't really satisfied in the market yet. So sometimes it's an idea that comes from one niche and applies to another. Maybe something that's working really well in vegetable gardening just isn't there in beekeeping yet. And you could bring that idea over and create something that is just maybe has never been done before or hasn't been done very well at all. So those are ideas. I don't recommend copying what's already out there. So this is good to see. Like Etsy's great to see what's out there, but if you just make another one of these record keeping, just essentially a template like this, and it looks similar-ish to that, you're not going to sell it because people are going to look at this and say, all right, this person's selling it. They have 5 stars, 57 reviews, and you have no sales at all, no reviews. They're not going to trust you. They're going to buy the one that's already, doing well and has a lot of consumer feedback on that. So I recommend being as different or unique as possible. You really want that blue ocean strategy. And like I said, the moat around you is going to be your knowledge and your effort that you actually put into this. Now, the final resource I want to look at is going to be over here on X. If you just type in beekeeping or anything kind of similar to that, you can start to find some good resources and definitely going to be some good discussion discussion on here with people that talk about what ideas they have, what they want, what they don't want. And you can always ask a question as well and say, hey, I have this idea. Like, would you guys want an app? And if so, what would you want in it? You can maybe get some feedback as you get started if you're trying to build something more complicated like that. Now, what I think I want to do here is kind of move over to a different niche, right? We saw what worked in beekeeping, but maybe I'm also good at germinating plants. It's something I've actually genuinely been doing for the past couple of years. And I have a nice set of shelves with lights on them. It's really good for germinating. And a lot of people that have come over have been like, hey, I want to build something like that. So for this video, I'm going to go with that. That's going to be the digital product we sell. And if we go and look on Etsy, see what's available, there really aren't any good ones. Like, this is kind of similar to what I'm doing, but it doesn't have lights in there. It's not the same design. And they have 2,400 reviews with 4.8 stars, and they're selling it for $8. So that's something that if you're selling, at high volume, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go with this one for this video. Like I said, a plan, something like that. And now we can move on to the next step of how you're actually going to be selling your product. So there are really two main routes you can go. One, as you can see right here, is on Etsy. And the benefit of being on Etsy, there are downsides I'll mention in a second, but the benefit is that you already have a huge network of possible customers that are searching on Etsy, and you have that algorithm to direct them to you. As long as you have a better product, you have the right SEO, search engine optimization, that is, meaning the right tags, the right keywords, and you have good images and you overall have a good setup, you can organically market your product without having to spend extra money. The downside is going to be in those fees. Etsy is not really unconventional. They're not wildly high compared to Amazon and eBay and others, but it is going to be significantly higher than if you sold it on your own website. So the second option is to sell on your own website. I usually recommend doing both, having it on Etsy and having it on your own website. The benefit of your own website is going to be if you're selling in person, if you're selling maybe in like a craft fair, something like that, you can do that. But even more than that, you can run ads online on TikTok. You can have it set up in TikTok Shop. You can have it set up in Instagram and Meta and all these other platforms out there. You can connect very easily to your online store, which you can customize and also have significantly lower fees than you would on Etsy. So the next chapter in this video is going to be setting up your store and selling your product. Now, I'm going to do this with two different ways, like I said, Etsy and on our own website. So I'm going to do kind of an abbreviated, just a crash course on both of them, but I do have full tutorials. So at the end of this video, if you want to go in and add more details to your store and really get things going like that, check the description of links to those down there. But I'm going to start off by making our own website. I think that's a little bit trickier, but very valuable in my opinion. This is something that gives you a lot of versatility to connect to other platforms where you have a lot of opportunity to sell on, like TikTok, for example, Instagram, all those other platforms like I mentioned. And also it's very affordable, it's extremely customizable, and it works well for a variety of products. But we're going to start off just doing the digital products here. So we have an affiliate link with Hostinger. That's one of the ways you can host WordPress. If you go through our affiliate link, you get a really good deal. I'll give you another 10% off in a second, and you get an additional 3 months for free. So you don't have to go through our link, but it saves you money if you do, and it supports the channel, obviously at no extra cost to you. So on the top, you should see services. We can then go down to managed hosting for WordPress and click on that. It's $2.99 per month with 3 months for free, and also a better deal I'll show you in a second. So let's click on claim deal. And out of all of these, you can really just go with the basic one. So choose plan, and we could do it for 48 months, which you're going to see is $2.99 per month. If you do the full 4 years, I recommend doing a minimum of 12 months because check this out. If you do 1 month, it's $12 a month plus a $5 setup fee. Plus you don't get a free domain for the first year. So you end up spending a really similar amount of money when you get 12 months versus 1 month. I recommend doing that. Additionally, you'll notice the renewal rate is different for each of these. So if you do 48 months, it renews at $8 a month. And if you do 12 months, it renews at $11 per month. So I'm going to go with 48 months. And on the right, we can say have a coupon code, type in Santrel 10, click apply. This will give you an additional 10% off. Another benefit of getting 48 months up front, the 10% applies to all 48 months. And you're looking at $129.17 for 4 years of hosting your website. Like I said, it's a pretty affordable way to host a website compared to many other platforms out there. So let's say continue. Now we can enter our email address and password and say register. So sometimes Hostinger changes how this onboarding process looks. Just click through pretty much everything. You can skip whenever you see the option to skip, because we're going to get to the dashboard in a second and customize everything on our own. But you should see a page that says you need a WordPress admin and password. This is different from your Hostinger login and password. This is really what you're going to be using to sign into your website in the future. You could use the same email and password if you wanted to. I use a different one usually. So let's say next. Now they give us some options to use an AI-built website or a pre-built theme website. You can choose either one. I'm going to create a blank site though, and we'll install our own theme later, our own template that I think works best for what we're trying to do. Now we can get a domain right here. Now you don't want to pigeonhole yourself too much and make it the name of just your product. So try to come up with a generic brand name that makes sense, but might not be, super niche for what you're doing. So maybe like homesteadtools.com. Looks like that's not available. But once you find a domain, you can get it. And you could also search like Namecheap and other places out there, but getting a domain through Hostinger is a really similar price, maybe an extra $1 per year. And it saves, in my opinion, a lot of effort of having two different accounts with your credit card on both of them and having to worry about, whenever your credit card expires, you have to update both of them. I think it's worth it just to have them all. And plus you don't have to worry about connecting your domain. It's all just on Hostinger. That's usually what I do. That's what I recommend as well. All right, so that'll bring us to this page right here, something that looks similar to this. Sometimes it looks a little bit different, but essentially this is the WordPress dashboard. A quick crash course on this. On the left side, we have essentially all the different menus we can get into. So if we want to make a new blog post, if we want to make a new web page, we can do all of that here, and I'll talk about this in a second. The first thing we want to do is go down to Appearance and click on Themes. Now we're going to choose a theme. I usually just go with Astra, so let's say Add Theme. We can look for Astra. Type in Astra, hit enter, there it is. This is free to use, so I'll say install, and then we can activate this theme and we'll have Astra installed. So activate, there we go. All right, now you should see something that pops up right here that says, let's get started with a starter template. If you don't see that, you can go down to plugins and install starter templates, but this really should be popping up here. I'm gonna say get starter templates. And this is a good way to give us a full pre-built website that's ready to go with our product. And all we have to do is just, change the text and the photos to match whatever we're actually selling. This also installs all of the plugins for us, like WooCommerce and Elementor and everything like that. Now we can click on e-commerce, online shop, or you can see e-learning if you want to sell online courses or something like that, but online shop's fine. We can sell whichever one you choose, you can sell a digital product very easily with WooCommerce, and I'll show you how to do that. It acts very similar to a physical product, just obviously without the shipping. So looking at these, some of them are premium, some of them are free, some of them are good, and some of them are bad, that's for sure. This is a basic one. This is a basic one as well. Let's go with this one for now. So we can upload our logo, we can choose the color palette that we want. Maybe for growing, we go mostly green. We can choose the fonts that we want, and we can say continue. Now we can choose what features we want on there. Maybe you want to have appointments and bookings. I mean, that doesn't really make sense. You have a contact form, page builder, e-commerce. Let's go with all this. I think this looks fine as is. We can enter our name, submit, and build my website. And then just sit back and wait a couple minutes. All right, so now we can view our website, and you'll see it's pretty much built for us. There's not a whole lot we have to do other than change like the text and the images, as I mentioned. So I have a full video about how to redesign the website, but let's talk about how to add our product. If we click on the WordPress logo on the top left here, it'll bring us back to the dashboard. We have a lot more going on. You might have noticed there's a bunch of things added over on the left side, one of them being WooCommerce, and below that, products, which is managed by WooCommerce. So we can click on products, and I want to show you how to add a digital product here. They added a bunch of physical ones just as dummies to make the website. Let's say add a new product. We'll get rid of those later. So add a new product, and then we can call this one plant germination shelf plan, and I'm just going to describe the product right there and say generate with AI, a little description and everything. That's what we can do. We don't have to. You can put in your own product description here, but down here we want to select a simple product because there's no variants, just one basic thing to download. We can have the price, so maybe this is, there it looks like the AI just added a bunch of stuff. There we go. But the price, we could say maybe this is going to be like $8.99, but you can compare at, or maybe it's $12.99, but it's on sale for $8.99. $8.99. And we want to select downloadable and virtual product, so that way it's not something that's actually being shipped. The downloadable file right here, we can add files, select file name, and this is going to be PDF plans. We can choose the file. We're just going to drag and drop a file right here. insert the file. So we have a URL for that. And you can have multiple files as well. Maybe you want to have one that's just like the CAD file on here, or maybe you want to have more images or anything else, maybe a short video showing yourself putting it together. You can have all those files right here. Download limit, you can say you can download it maybe one time per person or unlimited. I'm going to go back to, let's say 4 per person looks fine. And we could have it expire if you wanted to. Now we can choose the slug for this PDF plan. We can have a description. And we can add some images up here on the right in product gallery. So this is really important. You want to add good images, but now I'm just going to say publish, and we have our first product ready to go. Now, like I said, there's a whole lot to talk about when you're talking about Hostinger and WordPress here. I have a full tutorial on how to build your website, how to design it, how to make anything on WooCommerce. So I recommend checking out that video for the next steps here. But I really just wanted to kind of take a little detour out of this video to show you how to make a digital product, because in my full tutorial, I mostly focus on physical products, but really the key is to go virtual and downloadable, select those boxes and upload the files here. And then you'll be able to sell just like a regular product, but it's a downloadable product that when they check out, they just click download and the customer gets it immediately. So that's how you can set that up. Now, going back to Etsy, if you go to etsy.com/sell, we can say get started and we can make our own account or continue with Google. And this will walk you through a very simple process of how to set up your store. So we can say, let's do this. I'm just new. We can skip all these questions as well. We're looking to sell online. Or skip this question. We can actually skip all of them and say start our shop. And from here, we can just it walks you through everything. Like I said, we're going to save and continue. The shop name can be Homestead, save and continue. We can choose our category. So digital files, not physical, things that we already made, and say save and continue. Now we can add the files. You can say upload digital files right here. So again, I'm going to click and drag that over. So I'm going to add a pretty long title here that's targeting a bunch of keywords and some more complex one as well. So things that I think people would search. And by the way, if you're wondering what people search, I don't have exactly what they search on Etsy, but on Google, if we go to trends.google.com, you could type in a couple different things. So plant germination stand, and compare that to plant germination shelf. So plant germination versus plant germinating, like shelf versus whatever. So you can kind of play around and see what people really search for to come up with your best titles here. And you want to use maybe not all 140 characters, but you're probably going to want to use quite a few to make this really loaded with keywords and very likely to rank in search. Now we can add up to 10 photos and 1 video. I highly recommend you add 10 photos and 1 video, or at least as much as you can, because the more customers can see the image of this product and really understand it, the more likely they are to buy. If you just have one kind of like low quality image or no image at all, then you're just not really going to be selling very well at all. All right, so I have a bunch of images here. I've got a title, I've got my thumbnail. We can adjust the thumbnail, make it a little zoomed in or anything like that. We can then make sure we have the file down here. We can add more files as well. We can add a description. We can add personalization. I'm not going to. That doesn't really make sense here. That would be more so if they're going to upload an image of themselves or some like a name you're going to engrave or something like that. Digital products, that doesn't really apply, at least not in this situation. Price and inventory. So again, we can say maybe this is going to be $8.99. And it shows us a profit right there based on the fees. We can also have our cost. So if it costs us anything, which it doesn't for digital, we can add that there. But they show us estimated fees, which is pretty nice. You can see $7.69 is going to be what we're profiting on these sales on Etsy. Quantity is up to 999, which is fine. We can always just update that and say we have more. But it's a digital product, so there's no limit here. Craft type, this is going to be maybe woodworking, I guess. We don't need to have an occasion or a holiday. We can add our tags here. And we can save and continue. There we go. So now there's our first thing. We can add more listings. I would highly recommend adding more listings. You probably want to have at least half a dozen listings on your store. This is true both on WordPress and on Etsy, especially on WordPress though. So if you're selling this plan, maybe you want to sell a modified one that's a little shorter, maybe a taller one, a wider one, a double one, maybe one without wiring. You want to make a couple variants so people can see like, hey, this person's legit. They're selling a bunch of variations here, and they're not just like some one-off that maybe stole the design from somewhere else. So I think that's extremely valuable. So add more listings. For the sake of time, I'm just going to say do this later for this video, but I would recommend, like I said, set that up on your own. Now we can choose our payment information. So what are we? Are we a business yet? If you're not, you can set one up in the future. We have tutorials on how to do that. You could start off as an individual or sole proprietor as well. In the US, you would just be using your social security number for that. Then we can enter our taxpayer address, our name, our phone number, and all the information they need for at the end of the year to send us that 1099 for how much revenue we actually earned through this. And then we'll go and share our billing information so we can actually get paid at the end, connecting to our bank. And finally, we can set up our security for two-factor authentication. So that is how you'll be setting up this store. The next steps then, of course, what I would recommend doing when you're getting started here is on Etsy. A lot of these are just going to kind of organically start getting traction, but give it some time. It's not going to be in the first day. It might not even be the first week, but if you have a good product and you have a good description and you have, a number of good products, you should be getting sales in the first couple weeks or first couple months. But again, just keep spending your time building more products, researching, build out your store, and you're going to get the most success by iterating on this. As you try different products, some are going to work better than others, and ultimately you're going to find one that is going to be performing best. And when you find that product, that's when you can start running ads on it. I don't recommend running ads on every product in the beginning because it's a very expensive experiment to find out which products work and which ones don't. So in the beginning, it makes a lot of sense to me to just do this organically on here. And maybe it takes you 15, 20 products until you get one that really starts to convert well. And at that time, you don't have to run it as an ad, at least not at Etsy, but I would recommend running it as an ad on TikTok and the other platforms using your WooCommerce store. The next steps though, this is very, very important. The next steps would be one, to watch our tutorial on how to set up your Etsy shop and really get into more details on that. It's pretty self-explanatory. And I think if you made it this far, you know most of what you need to. But WooCommerce, I recommend watching this video right here. I didn't want to add that into this video that you're watching at the moment because I think that really should be a standalone video over here. It's 1 hour long. I think this one right here, actually, the condensed one, 15 minutes if you wanted a more brief version of it. But then after that, go and look up Santrel Media TikTok. I'll also have that linked in the description of this video, but you can see right here, this video is 50 minutes long, and that'll tell you exactly how to run ads on TikTok. Same thing as well on Facebook ads, and we have Snapchat ads if you're interested in that, but Facebook ads would be the other one. Again, about 21 minutes here on how to set that up and run those ads. So those are the next steps. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what kind of store you're looking to start. I'm really excited to be a customer and just see what kind of success you guys are finding. So thanks again for watching. I'm Mike with Santrel Media, and I'll see you in those next videos over here.